Your traumatized brain is like a fire alarm stuck in panic mode inside a house that already burned down. It keeps screaming every night, even when there's no smoke. And eventually, you start to believe you're the problem, when in fact, your nervous system just never got the message that it's safe now. Trauma isn't a memory. It's a body stuck in a time that no longer exists. You're not too sensitive. You're rewired. A 2018 study from the University of Wisconsin, led by neuroscientist Dr. Tracy Dennis-Dewary, followed 320 adults exposed to chronic trauma. The findings showed persistent overactivation in the limbic system, especially the amygdala, even in calm, safe environments. Translation: your brain doesn't wait for danger anymore. It expects it all the time. That's why you flinch at kindness. Why rest feels unsafe. Why your heart races even when you're alone on the couch. Psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk once described a patient who swore she could smell her abuser every time she was alone. Years after he had died. That wasn't memory. That was a nervous system hijacked by trauma. The body keeps the score, he said, and he meant it literally. Trauma doesn't live in your head. It lives in your skin, your jaw, your stomach, your breath. It makes your brain skip logic and go straight to survival. So if you keep forgetting words, can't sleep, wake up tense, or feel like a total failure by 3 p.m., that's not laziness. That's trauma, doing what trauma does. Shutting down executive function, messing with memory, distorting perception, and burning all your mental energy on invisible emergencies. Your prefrontal cortex, offline, your body, on fire. And no one taught you this in school. You just thought something was wrong with you. So here's the real question. When did it start? When did your brain turn on survival mode and forget how to turn it off? The answer might be hiding somewhere you haven't looked in a while. Let's go back to the beginning, to childhood. Chapter 1. Childhood trauma, invisible damage in the adult brain. A child doesn't know what trauma is. A child just thinks that's how life is. That silence is normal. That fear is part of bedtime. That being ignored, yelled at, or hit is just what happens when you're bad. So the child doesn't scream, doesn't run, doesn't break. Instead, the child adapts, smiles when it hurts, laughs when they're scared. And that rewires the brain in ways no one ever talks about. In the memoir, A Child Called It by Dave Pelser, he describes how, as a 7-year-old, his mother forced him to drink ammonia, stabbed him in the stomach, and left him sleeping in the garage like an animal, all while sending him to school every day with a forced smile. His teachers saw the bruises, smelled the blood, but no one stopped it. He learned to dissociate, to numb, to live inside his own head while his body took the hits. He became good at being invisible. And that invisibility followed him well into adulthood. That's the part people don't see. They see the adult, anxious, scattered, always overthinking, but not the child behind the curtain. Not the little version of you who had to monitor the tone of every room, predict every mood shift, or apologize before anything went wrong. The hypervigilance becomes a personality. The overthinking becomes your identity. And by the time you're 30, you can't tell if you're careful or just still terrified. Most childhood trauma isn't obvious. It's not about broken bones or hospital visits. It's about not being seen. It's about learning that your needs don't matter, and that if you speak up, love disappears. So you learn to shrink. You learn to be quiet, useful, perfect. You become the funny one, the smart one, the high achiever. And no one suspects that inside. You're still 5 years old, frozen in a hallway, trying to figure out what mood the house is in before you walk in. And then one day, someone tells you to just relax, to be yourself, and your whole nervous system laughs, because you never learned how. Chapter 2. Trauma and Memory. What your brain tries to forget to survive. There's a specific kind of panic that hits when you can't trust your own mind. You walk into a room and forget why. You hear someone say your name and it feels like a threat. You try to remember the fight, the night, the scream, but it's fog. Like someone blacked out part of your timeline with a permanent marker. You're not losing your mind. Your brain just did something it had to. It buried the unbearable. A 2014 study from Harvard Medical School, led by Dr. Carrie Ressler and published in Biological Psychiatry, showed how trauma disrupts the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for forming coherent memories. 163 participants with PTSD were scanned, and nearly all showed irregular hippocampal function. Their brains weren't processing trauma as past. They were stuck in it, fragmented, out of order. That's why certain smells or sounds don't just remind you, they ambush you. Your brain isn't recalling, it's reliving. Dr. Naomi Clark, a trauma therapist from Denver, once shared a patient who couldn't remember anything about a 4-year abusive relationship, except the color of the kitchen tiles and the sound of the door locking. No names, no clear events, just fragments. His body, though, full of tension, insomnia, stomach pain. He told her, "It's like the memories are living in my skin, not in my head." That's not poetic. That's neurobiology. Your body remembers because your brain filed it under survival, not under story. You've probably asked yourself, why can't I just remember and get over it? Because your brain made a trade. It decided you didn't need the full movie, just enough to stay alert. So it keeps giving you flashes, scattered scenes, nightmares with no beginning. Trauma doesn't respect time. It loops, it deletes, it hides. And the worst part, it makes you doubt your own sanity. Because people keep saying, just talk about it, while you're stuck staring at a blank mental screen. But here's what they never told you. Even if you do remember, that doesn't mean you'll feel safe. Because safety, that's a whole other system. And that system, it's broken too. Let's talk about it next. Chapter 3. Mental Health After Trauma. Why Nothing Feels Normal Anymore. You don't go back to normal after trauma. You build a new version of reality where safety has to be earned second by second. Healing isn't a rewind button. It's a daily negotiation between your brain and your body about whether life is still dangerous. Let's be clear, the trauma ended, but your nervous system didn't get the memo. That's why you're still jumpy in quiet rooms. Why you can't feel joy without guilt. Why rest feels suspicious. People say give it time, as if time alone could rewire a body that lived years on red alert. Trauma physically changes your brain's baseline. So when people say just move on, what they're really saying is pretend you're not still burning. You're not broken. You're responding exactly how a human body should when it's been trained to survive at all costs. The problem is, most people expect you to act like nothing happened. But everything did. Your sleep changed. Your digestion changed. Your thoughts spiral. Your ability to plan ahead vanished. You didn't become a different person. You became the version of you that could survive hell. So no, the goal isn't to go back to who you were. That person didn't know what you know now. The goal is to build structure, not hope, not mindset, structure. One tiny ritual at a time. Track your triggers. Anchor your day with one consistent action. Don't wait for motivation. Rely on rhythm. If your brain lives in chaos, feed it repetition until it starts to believe in safety again. And if you're thinking, but I've tried that and I still feel off, good. That means your system is active. That means we still have access. Now we need to talk about the system underneath it all. The one that controls every signal your brain sends. Your nervous system. Chapter 4. How trauma alters your nervous system and makes healing hard. You've tried everything, right? Meditation, cold showers, journaling, gratitude, yoga, supplements. You followed all the healing hacks on Instagram. But the panic still wakes you up at 3 a.m., your stomach's still tight, and your brain still on fire for no reason. Let me tell you something that no coach or checklist tells you. Those things only work after your nervous system feels safe, and yours doesn't. In 2021, Stanford University ran a longitudinal study led by Dr. David Spiegel, involving 187 adults diagnosed with PTSD. They compared to groups over a 12-week period. One group received structured somatic therapy designed to directly regulate the autonomic nervous system, while the other practiced daily meditation, journaling, and mindfulness routines. The results were brutally clear. The somatic group showed a 68% drop in baseline cortisol and consistent heart rate variability improvements. The mindfulness-only group, 12% improvement, but reported increased frustration and feeling worse for failing to calm down. The study concluded, cognitive-based healing fails without prior physiological regulation. You're not failing. You're just trying to apply mind tools on a body problem. It's like trying to talk down a smoke alarm instead of unplugging it. In his book, The Social Brain and the Nervous System, Dr. Stephen Porges writes, trauma survivors often mistake their survival adaptations for personality traits, when in fact, these are protective nervous system responses. That line wrecked me, because that's exactly what so many of you feel, like you're difficult, lazy, dramatic. You're not. Your system is stuck in defense mode. It's not about mindset, it's about wiring. So no, your daily affirmations aren't useless. Your breath work isn't wrong. But when your vagus nerve is dysregulated, when your sympathetic system is still braced for attack, calm feels like a threat. Stillness makes you panic. That's not failure, that's biology. Healing starts lower in the body than they told you. You don't need more positivity. You need nervous system literacy. You need rituals that send the signal, we're not in danger anymore. And if your nervous system can learn to survive trauma, then maybe, just maybe, it can be taught how to unlearn it too. The question now is, can the traumatized brain actually heal? Let's find out. Chapter 5. Can a traumatized brain really heal? A brain stuck in trauma is like a GPS with no signal. It keeps rerouting you back to danger, even when you're trying to go somewhere safe. Every step forward feels like sabotage. And worst of all, you start to believe the map is broken, but it's not. It just needs a new reference point. One that doesn't begin with fear. You've asked, will I ever feel normal again? But let's change the question. Because normal wasn't calm for you. It was hypervigilance, guilt, overstimulation, and silence that screamed. You don't need to get back to that. You need a nervous system that no longer interprets rest as a threat. And that starts with predictability. Forget healing as a spiritual journey. Healing is mechanical. Repetition, regulation, repair. Every single day. The most reported pain in the comments was this. I've tried everything, and I still feel nothing. I can't feel joy. I can't focus. I feel like a zombie. That's anhedonia. It's when your reward system shuts down, often after years of trauma, anxiety, and dopamine depletion. But here's what they don't tell you. Your brain is still capable of pleasure, it's just not registering safety. You need to prove to it, repeatedly, that it won't be punished for feeling good. That's why tiny actions matter more than grand changes. Choose one sensory anchor, drink cold water and notice it. Write one sentence a day about how you feel without fixing it. And repeat, neuroplasticity isn't poetic, it's practical. You don't rewire your brain with willpower. You do it with microcertainties. In The Molecule of More, Dr. Daniel Z. Lieberman writes, the brain isn't designed for happiness, it's designed for prediction. So give it something to predict. Wake up and do one thing you did yesterday, but with 5% more intention. Let your brain recognize you before it tries to protect you. Structure is your medicine now. And no, it won't feel profound in the beginning. It will feel mechanical, stupid, boring. That's how you know it's working. You survived without instructions. Now, will you give yourself permission to rebuild with precision? Even if it's slow, even if it's quiet. What would happen if, this time, you didn't rush to fix, and just learned how to stay?